How can a team that never have the ball be so high up in the league table? Nottingham Forest have been one of the best teams this season, and they've done so by proving you don't need to follow the most popular modern tactics, playing in a completely different way to any of the teams around them. You'll rarely see the goalkeeper playing out from the back, and they basically never press the opposition high up the pitch. So how are they able to rack up so many points, and can they realistically keep it going all season? Let's take a look. Welcome to talkSPORT, my name is Cormac from Football Meta. Now, the modern tactical landscape has been dominated by heavy possession-oriented teams, trying to control the tempo of the game with the ball and create chances in structured ways. But Nottingham Forest and Nuno Espirito Santo don't seem too fond of these ideas, and they prefer to control the tempo of the game without the ball. Statistically speaking, Forest's current position in the league is a clear sign that they are overperforming. While they do have one of the best defensive records in the league, their attacking numbers have them in 11th place. By taking a look at their expected points, which combines their XG and XG suffered per game, Forest should technically be in 9th place, but currently have 11 more points than expected, with teams like Liverpool and Arsenal being much more in line with their expected points. So how are these numbers possible? We're going to start this analysis by taking a look at how they defend, because there's a number of different traps they use to trick the opposition into giving up possession. Nottingham Forest start their matches in a 4-2-3-1 shape. As mentioned earlier, they rarely press high up the pitch, and the vast majority of the game is played with Forest in a mid-block structure. This is the first point that's important to pick up on, as it's not an extremely low block they use out of possession, but rather a mid-block structure that does leave a bit more space in midfield. It's a space that they actively encourage the opposition to move into, but it's here where we can see the dangers of Nuno Espirito Santo's defensive system. Firstly, Forest don't press the ball carrier, rather they block off all the options around him, ensuring that he has no easy way of moving the ball forward. This gives Forest a very subtle psychological advantage, as it encourages the defender to move forward towards the centre of the pitch, before finding himself completely surrounded and with little options to move it forward, often resulting in a rushed pass that Forest will intercept and use to start their attacks. Their game against Liverpool was a perfect example of this psychological and tactical trap they set for the opposition. Liverpool this season have been one of the most fluid teams in possession, and the midfielders of Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai continuously rotate and look for space between the lines. Even players like Luis Diaz are not fixed to the centre of the pitch and will rotate from side to side, allowing for more consistent rotations and getting more players like Trent Alexander-Arnold involved in more central areas. But against Nottingham Forest, all these rotations were essentially meaningless, as the 4-1-4-1 or 4-5-1 defensive shape meant that these players were being shadow marked for long periods of time, and as Liverpool moved into these areas, there were no options, often resulting in misplaced crosses into the box or restarting their attacks and finding themselves with few options at the back as well. This is mostly how Nottingham Forest looked to slow down the opposition's attack. But what makes this team so dangerous is how quickly they move up the pitch once they regain possession. In fact, in the situations where the opposition breaks into midfield and finds players in this position, the front four players are not instantly rushing back to cover this space. Rather, the aggressive holding midfielders and defensive line will look to intercept these passes and regain possession. And now they instantly have space to push forward. Their opening goal against Wolves was a perfect example of this shape, regaining possession in the centre, with the four offensive players staying above the line of the ball, and instantly pushing forward and outnumbering the defensive line as quickly as possible. It's a defensive shape that means any turnover in possession can instantly cause a lot of issues for the opposition. Even in their game against Southampton, it was clear that as soon as the team had the ball, their only thought was to get up the pitch as quickly as possible. Nottingham Forest ranks second for interceptions this season, and they rank first for forward passes per 90. Which is interesting when you consider they also rank last for the total amount of passes. Now, this defensive shape is not 100% foolproof, and at times it can leave the defensive line exposed. While their defensive record is impressive, the goals they do concede come from pretty similar scenarios. Because of this space in midfield, it means teams can exploit it in different ways. Firstly, teams like Arsenal, Chelsea and Newcastle expose this space on the edge of the box, either with long-range efforts or with the wingers dribbling inside to shoot from a more central position, while Nottingham Forest still had their wingers and striker high up the pitch. On the occasions where they're able to stop these movements into a more central position, it forces the opposition to cross into the box. But they have also conceded their fair share of goals from this position. For example, teams like Aston Villa and Man City were able to find space with crosses onto the back post. Finally, their most recent 3-2 win over Southampton also highlighted some difficulty defending corners and free kicks, currently ranked 7th for XG conceded from set pieces this season. Also highlighted in the goal they conceded against Liverpool, with Jota equalising from a corner kick. Nonetheless, Forest is still proving to be one of the toughest teams to break down this season, but you don't win games simply by not conceding, and Forest have also found some incredibly simple ways of putting the ball in the back of the net. Forest might not use the most glamorous tactics, but their return to Route 1 football is proving to be highly effective. Now, there is an element of overperformance in front of goal as well. Their top scorer Chris Wood currently has 14 goals from an XG of 8.97, but that does also highlight the high quality chances that they're able to create. Forest basically never build from the back, and from long balls the target is almost always Chris Wood. To make the most out of these long balls from the goalkeeper, Nottingham Forest will move over to one side, usually the left, with Elanga tucking inside near Wood. As the ball is played forward, there are usually two options: flick it forward into the wingers running in behind, or find the layoff into the three midfielders, either instantly attacking forward or allowing them to start a structured attack from an already advanced position. Because of a player like Chris Wood that is so good in the air, it means Nottingham Forest don't need to complete 15 or 20 passes in their own half only to find themselves in midfield, similar to teams like Man City or Arsenal. And they can simply rely on this big cluster of players in midfield to gain possession high up the pitch. Even if they don't win the aerial duel, the sheer amount of players in this area is enough to consistently regain possession. Their goal against Liverpool, for example, highlights this structure, with the ball bouncing around in midfield before Hudson-Odoi gets it under control. From here, a pass forward into Elanga, who has space to move forward and find Chris Wood in space to finish the move, creating a high quality chance with just 2 passes forward. Now, with all this being said, how sustainable is this style of play realistically speaking? Huge parallels so far can be drawn to Ranieri's Leicester in 2016. With their incredible run starting in a similar fashion with a compact low defensive block and lethal counterattacks. But as the season progressed and Leicester found themselves in a position where they could go all the way, they were able to adapt their tactics quite substantially, slowly becoming a more controlling team that was able to create chances in more structured ways. And it still remains to be seen if a team like Nottingham Forest, if these results continue, are able to adapt their tactics in the business end of the season. But what do you think of Nottingham Forest, and how far do you think they can go this season? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, I have a more detailed breakdown of Nottingham Forest on my channel, Football Meta. So come check it out if you want to know all the ways they can catch the opposition off guard. Thanks for watching.